Hi everyone, this is Josiah from Historibrick, and today I am here to walk you through an old magazine that I discovered in my collections. This is a holiday magic catalog. Um, this is the Lego Shop at Home Holiday 1996 catalog. I think this was the very first sort of Lego publication that I ever received as a child. I was probably about 9 or 10 years old when I first received this. And thankfully, I have held on to this all these years. And if you have never seen Lego sets or Lego marketing from the mid 1990s, you are in for a treat today. So let's take a look here. So on the cover, wow. So this really is pretty nostalgic for me. 70 new items inside, all new Wild West. And so I think if you know anything about the Wild West theme from Lego, that lasted only from 1996, and I think it was already canceled by 1997. So that kind of makes you feel a little bit old. Looks like on this cover they had a free Lego t-shirt offer via the order form. I can't remember if I took advantage of that as a kid. I was never really a t-shirt kind of kid, so I don't know if I took advantage of that or not. But on the cover here, looks like we've got a nice painted illustration of minifigures from different themes that are all coming together to assemble a Christmas tree here. So we've got some cowboys and kind of Western style cavalry here at the bottom, cooperating with this wacky professor character, this robot character, and some aquanauts, and a monkey here in this kind of old Western style gold mine. We've even got the ghost and the skeleton minifigure, and looks like there's another pirate minifigure up there, I guess putting the ornaments and such in the tree. So, filled with more than 250 kids' favorites. Look inside. All right, let's do just that. And so, of course, I apologize for the kind of poor condition of this catalog. But like I said, I have held on to this catalog for over 20 years now. 24 years, I guess it would be, that I've had this catalog now. And it was well loved and well used as a child. I really enjoyed just kind of flipping through it and looking at the way that the official Lego designers had put together their sets, and looking at all the cool ideas for themes and for setups, and anyway. So let's see here. So come on in. Come join in magical holiday adventures. All right, so this says, Dear Lego families, welcome to Holiday Magic, the door to the world of Lego imagination. Load up the flying time vessel at right and cruise from castle to pirates to town to space to any Lego theme you want. With over 200 items to choose from, the joy of adventure and discovery await you on every page of this catalog. As we approach the holiday season, all of us at Lego Shop at Home wish that you and your family enjoy the magic of your child's imagination. Then they have some instructions here for how to order from home if you're doing some shopping, if you're doing some holiday shopping. Plus, if you place an order of $75 or more from this catalog by November 30th, 1996, you will receive a free t-shirt. See the order form for more details. So I imagine that some of the folks watching this video might not have been born yet by 1996. Day after tomorrow delivery, only $5. That's a pretty good deal. How times have changed. The Lego quality and service guarantee, and a safety message, of course, about the small parts and making sure to keep those small parts away from small children who might like to put things like that in their mouth. So it looks like the set that they start off with here on the first page is the one of the Time Cruisers sets. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the Time Cruisers sets, it was a theme that actually started when a Lego fan built a model of a time-traveling car, and apparently Lego liked it, thought it was a cute idea, and they created a whole theme out of it. So they started with solely a magazine comic from 1994 through 1996. And then in 1996, they began producing actual physical sets based off the comic. And they produced those sets between 1996 and 1997. They discontinued the sets in 1997, but they kept doing the magazine comic until I think 2001. And so it looks like this is kind of the primary mainstay set here. It's the Flying Time Vessel, and they were selling it for $44. So that's set number 6493. And the description here says, "This wild and wacky time machine takes you to the themes of the past, present, and future. The wings flap and the propeller spins as you move the ship across the floor. So buckle up and get ready for all kinds of hair-raising fun. Comes with Dr. Cyber, Tim, Punky the Monkey, time-traveling tools, and lots of hats that will help you disguise yourself as you travel through time." And so you can see here, this set is pretty much a mashup of all the different types of themes that Lego was offering. The ship kind of element here is very reminiscent of, I guess it could be the kind of gray color makes it look more like a metallic kind of material that it's supposed to represent. So perhaps that's more of a modern boat that they have retrofitted with all of this, all of these other artifacts and various pieces of technology. You can see they've got the arms from the old dragon figure kind of connected onto the bow of the ship here. They have some headgear, some medieval-looking horse headgear attached to the front here. Looks like along with a kind of translucent yellow or translucent green antenna sticking out. Oh, it looks like they've got a few different antennae. One in the front, two on the wings. They've got this kind of periscope, looks like from the Aquanauts theme, attached to the ceiling here. If you look closer, you'll see in front of Dr. Cyber is a medieval crossbow, couple of medieval crossbows. Of course, you've got this big kind of pirate-themed mast here, complete with a monkey that seems to have attached itself to the mast, and a treasure chest, which if you look very closely, it looks like Tim has got the one of the old kind of antique-style revolvers from the pirate theme but there's also one of those translucent orange chainsaws that I think came from the kind of, I can't remember the name of the exact sub-theme, but it's kind of an ice world themed space theme. Looks like also one of those swashbuckling kind of swords from the pirate and castle themes, and also glow-in-the-dark magic wand from the castle theme. You have the red dragon wings attached to the back of the ship, just in front of the propeller. And of course you have all this various headgear from space theme and underwater theme and pirate theme. And so for those of you who are pretty unfamiliar with the Time Cruisers theme, and you can be forgiven for being unfamiliar with this theme because it was a long time ago and it was very short-lived, and it was kind of weird, to be honest. The Time Cruisers theme basically had this plot that revolved around the struggle between the Time Cruisers, who were supposed to be the good guys, and the Time Twisters, who represented the bad guys. So the Time Cruisers were, like the description of this particular set makes clear, this Dr. Cyber fellow. He looks kind of like a stereotypical wacky professor character here. I apologize, he's being separated by the seam of this page here. I'm trying my best to hold this book together, but it's actually very loose. It's kind of falling apart in my hands, so I'm trying to be gentle with it as well. So here's Dr. Cyber. He was kind of the, if you're familiar with the Back to the Future franchise, he's kind of the equivalent of the Doc Brown to this Tim character, who's kind of the equivalent of like a Marty McFly. This young, kind of wide-eyed, adventurous kid who goes along with Dr. Cyber and tries to, tries to help collect interesting artifacts, maybe for Dr. Cyber's scientific research, or maybe he's trying to set things right from the bad guys who are trying to mess with the timeline. I'm not sure. I don't think I really followed the magazine comic of Time Cruisers when I was a kid, but the bad guys include, like I said, the Time Twisters. So the Time Twisters were, I think the names were Tony Twister and Professor Millennium. And if I recall correctly, Tony Twister and Professor Millennium were, they were kind of dressed in kind of this like little punk outfits. They reminded me of a sort of mashup of maybe, the old British alternative rock bands, like a mashup of, Sisters of Mercy and Sergeant Pepper's. They had these kind of like black leather jackets with these sort of, early modern looking like fringed shoulder pads. And of course they had all, like goatees and everything that makes you look like the stereotypical bad guy. So, yeah, that was the Time Twisters. I believe that their sidekicks were a ghost and a skeleton, and the sidekicks of the good guys, the Time Cruisers, was of course the monkey and a robot, I think called Cranky the Robot, which was actually a really interesting character. I'm not sure if Cranky the Robot is in this particular set. But he was basically, his torso was a 1x1 Lego brick with studs on all four sides. He had this handle kind of stuck in his back, sort of to represent like a wind-up toy. His legs were basically just a 1x2 hinge-topped brick, and his feet were 1x1 U-clip plates with a couple of those ratchet pieces for arms. I'm not sure if I'm describing those pieces correctly. So the ratchet pieces were that little tool that's basically a round bar with a grooved handle. It has this round stud on one end and sort of a U-clip on the other end. But it was really interesting because for this Cranky the robot, they did not use the standard minifig pieces. You actually put Cranky the robot together with all these smaller bricks. So I thought that was an interesting twist. And so, as you can see here, these hats, these hats and headgear, helmets and such, they represented how the time cruisers actually traveled through time. So these little hats actually powered their time machine, according to the time cruisers kind of plot line. I always wondered when I was a kid, what was the purpose of this series? I guess it was wacky and fun. Maybe I was a little bit cynical as a child, but I always kind of imagined that this theme was Lego's attempt at getting rid of excess parts from various themes that they had maybe overproduced. And we produced too many dragon arms and too many, of this kind of horse headgear and too many of these boat holes, and we just got to throw them all together and sell them off somehow. Looking back, it probably wasn't that. They probably just thought it was fun and, it would give kids a little bit of exposure to all of the different themes. Maybe they would get one of these sets and they'd be like, oh, this periscope part is really awesome. I need to get into the Aquanauts series more. Or, these dragon parts are really cool. I would like to have the whole, dragon figure, and that would cause them to get more into the castle theme. I don't know if that was part of it. But anyhow, so here off to the right of this set, we have kind of a table of contents, which tells you a little bit about what is included in this catalog. So it looks like we're going to go from the Wild West theme to Explorians, which is a space theme, Aquazone, Maniac favorites. And if you'll see this guy here, this guy with the green t-shirt and the black sunglasses, here he's wearing kind of a red Santa cap because that's in keeping with the holiday theme of this catalog. But this guy was called, I think he was called just the Lego Maniac. And so he was kind of the mascot of Lego for kids, especially in these magazines and catalogs. So that was the Lego Maniac, supposed to represent kind of a generic kid who was just maniacal for Lego. And then we have here Duplo, which they've labeled preschool toys, freestyle and accessories, town, castle, pirates, space, trains, boats, and model team. And of course, for some reason, I feel like they always put Technic at the very end. You have to flip through all the more maybe simplistic stuff in order to get to the more adulty, more technically refined sets of the Technic series. So let's continue on. And it looks like now we go into the Wild West section of this catalog. So welcome to the all-new Wild West. And they've got so many little tiny captions everywhere within these old catalogs. So here it looks like they start you off with the Gold City Junction set. The description, just like the early pioneers, you can build your own frontier mining town. But guard it closely. Those bandits are robbing the bank, holding up the stagecoach, looting the general store, and just causing trouble. Includes sheriff, banker, cavalry officer, and 3 cowboys. 336 pieces, $54. And so here you can see there's a bank set, a general store set. They've got kind of looks like a horse-drawn carriage set here that is must be associated with the bank. It's got that dollar sign printed on the side here. And it looks like they're being held up, judging by the surprised posture of the horses here. They're being held up by an outlaw who's pointing some revolvers at them. But not to fear, it looks like there's a good guy, a cowboy, kind of in sniper position on top of the bank here. And so maybe he's going to prevent this holdup from taking place. So this Wild West theme, which was a really cool theme, I always thought as a kid. I've always kind of had a proclivity towards historical subjects, recreating history with Lego. So this theme, like the Time Cruisers, it also only ran from 1996 through 1997. I think in 1999 they put out an accessories bundle of Wild West themed parts. And then I think 3 of these sets were re-released just for the year 2002. Previously, Lego had released, I want to say, 2 standalone sets that were set in the old American West, but they were not part of this Wild West theme officially. So in the year 1975, there was a Wild West scene, which was kind of like a small frontier town, main street, had I believe a post office, a bank, saloon, sheriff's office, etc., and some horse-drawn vehicles. And then there was sort of an accessory set to that one, which I believe was just called Cowboys. And it was a couple of cowboy minifigs, a brick-built horse, a small yellow fence. So those were released in 1975, and that was actually back in the day when the minifigs were those, kind of, now they seem a little creepy to me, the armless, faceless minifigures. So one of the things that I liked about this series was a lot of these buildings used that kind of stockade style wall. If you can see it there on the general store, a little bit also on this mine set, and then most prominently here on the Fort Legoredo. The Fort Legoredo set. You can see the kind of almost looks like log, kind of logs that are combined together vertically to create this stockade wall. I thought that was a cool idea for panels and bricks. Actually, I think the official name for those types of pieces are log panels or log bricks. So some interesting things about the Wild West theme are that this was the first theme that introduced realistic, modern-looking firearm pieces. Previously, the Pirates theme had firearms, of course, but they were more antique-y looking. It was kind of like muskets and antique revolvers. But this is the first theme that actually has firearms that could, feasibly be representative of a modern firearm. You can see an example there. And of course, I guess the space theme that kind of had a futuristic, I guess you could call them firearms. They look more like laser guns or ray guns, I suppose. Some other new pieces that the Wild West theme introduced, the soldiers' capes. So let's see if I can find an example here. Okay, yeah, so these soldiers down here, the hats that they're wearing on their heads, That was a brand new piece. So those hats are called KPs. You can see they also have bandanas around their necks. Those were new. These large barrels, that was a new piece. And this golden bugle here, that was a completely new piece. You can see this cavalryman holding this bugle, kind of a gold chrome style piece. I think these were actually made by creating the piece originally with the silver chrome and then dipping that in like a translucent yellow to create the gold chrome there. I'm not going to read the description of every set here, but I'll try to get a good clear shot of each one so that you can pause the video if you like and take a closer look at any of these things that happen to interest you. One of the other things that I notice about these old sets from the 1990s is that every set seems to have a base plate. And they just had this, prolific variety of different sizes and colors and shapes of base plates. So many molds. Some of the base plates you'll see later are raised. They're kind of these bulky, substantial plates that take up half of the build. Many of the base plates incorporate roads and paths. You can see where the road is smooth. There's no studs on the road. All different types of directions of roads that you could get on these base plates. Roads that cut diagonally across the base plate, sharper turns, kind of four-way intersections, three-way intersections, a road that just cuts straight across the base plate, you name it. So, pretty interesting that Lego doesn't seem to rely on these base plates so much anymore. All right, so let's continue on. And now we come to the Explorians theme. So Explorians was a sub-theme of the space theme. I believe Explorians also only ran from 1996 to 1997. I'm not sure what it was about that period of 96 to 97 where you had so many new themes and sub-themes pop up that all kind of collapsed, 1 year after launch. But that was the phenomenon. This white and blue color theme of the Explorian sub-theme, I feel like it kind of harkens back to the Futuron theme of the mid to late 1980s, was also a space theme that utilized a lot of white and blue coloring. An interesting thing about this Explorians theme is that as opposed to a lot of the more conflict-based themes that Lego did, Explorians was actually all about just science and exploration. So I don't think that you will see any weapons in any of these sets, or any sort of war or conflict or anything. I think it's all about basically just researchers, these astronauts who are living on other worlds, and if I remember correctly, they're trying to locate and acquire alien fossils. And so that sort of concept gave rise to a lot of really cool specialized pieces from this era. So if you'll see here on the planetary decoder set, if you look very closely here, they give you these tiles, and the tiles basically had 3 different ways that you could view them. So when you just looked directly at the tile, there would be an image of a fossil in white. And if you moved a translucent blue piece over it, you would see a different sort of image on the tile. And then if you moved a translucent red piece over the tile, you would see yet another different image on the tile. So it was a way to kind of decode and bring out hidden images from the tiles. So I always thought that that was really, really cool as a kid. This sub-theme also made good use of holographic stickers and parts. I also thought that was super cool when I was a kid. You can see here on the satellite dish, they've got these really cool, shiny, colorful holographic stickers. And then I believe this was also a holographic part. This little monitor here. So this monitor you can see, I think it was something like if you kind of tilted the piece back and forth, a different image would be visible on this sticker here. So you can see here the character in the monitor is saying, "Android, are you there? Android." And he's referring to this character here, Android, who was a robot. Interestingly, this was a female robot, I think, that they had established. She's saying, "I should get an answering machine." Anyway, I'm not sure how robots end up gendered, but yeah, so that's a female character. Not entirely sure if any of these individuals here, the human individuals, are supposed to be female, but at least they've got a female android here. And it looks like another cool feature is they've got these magnet pieces, which I also loved when I was a kid. Just thought that was such a cool idea. So you've got these little circular magnet pieces on swivels. You can hover the magnets over, little boxes that are also magnetized, and then you can use that function to pick up boxes full of, fossils or cool artifacts. So anyway, I'll hover over each of these descriptions here so that you can pause the video if you like and get a closer look. All right, let's continue on. It looks like there's more Explorian stuff on these 2 pages. More of those kind of cool holographic pieces. Here we have the Nebula Outpost. And then here there's kind of a little custom build instructional thing. So you can put together an extra little set here. I'm guessing those are pieces that you can get from this set here, the Nebula Outpost, kind of like the modern creator theme. If you want to take the set apart and put it together in a different way, I think that's where that comes from. And here's the 5th part of that instructional thing. Yeah, I'm seeing all the same pieces in this that I saw in this set here. Okay, yeah. So you can either build the set this way, or here's the very finished alternative, or you can build the set this way. One set, twice the fun. Yeah, very cool. Alternate model. Yep. All right, and then we continue on to the aquazone section of the catalog here. So aquazone was kind of a brainchild of this aborted theme from the early 1990s called the Seatron theme. And so this theme had been planned in the early 1990s to be a sort of sub-theme of space. And in this sub-theme, astronauts were basically exploring an alien ocean on this watery extraterrestrial planet. So aquazone was basically the successful child of that idea that really never came to fruition. This aquazone sub-theme ran from 1995 until 1999, and initially it revolved around a conflict between the aquanauts, these guys in the kind of yellow color scheme, and the bad guys, the aqua sharks, who were in this kind of black, blue, orange color theme here. As time went on through this theme, you had these other factions coming into play. You had the Aqua Raiders, who was another faction of bad guys, the Hydronauts, who were another faction of good guys, and then lastly, you had the Stingrays, which were yet another faction of bad guys. And so the conflict in this theme was usually over these chrome crystals that both sides were trying to mine and collect. Let's see if I can find an example of one of these crystals. Oh, here we go. So here you'll see in this kind of minifig and accessory set, standing next to the blue aquanaut here, you've got these chrome silvery colored crystals. That was the main currency of this world, I guess, that both of these factions were fighting over. Had some really cool animal pieces here. This shark with a moving jaw and an octopus here. Some really neat plant and foliage pieces. You had kind of the standard green prickly bush here. Then you also had green and red, more kind of fanned out bushes that could represent sort of plant life that you would find at the bottom of the ocean. So here's the Sea Sprint 9. Shark's Crystal Cave. Really kind of a sparse set when you look at it. I guess the bulk of the set is this vehicle here. And then down here it's basically just a base plate with a few kind of pieces spread out. Another one of those interesting base plates. You can see how this mold was used in a lot of space sets, and it was basically just repainted and repurposed for the Aquazone series. Here is the Crystal Crawler. And a lot of these old 1990s Lego catalogs would have these little blurbs hidden somewhere on the page where they introduced you to one of the main characters of the series. So here's Thresher, one of the main bad guys from the series, and he's saying howdy. And then up here we have another one of the main sets, the Crystal Explorer sub, kind of the counterpart to this shark sub here. This is the Crystal Explorer sub. Again, they're making use of that really neat magnetic feature that you don't see a whole lot anymore these days. So that's the Aquazone. Some more Aquazone sets. We have the Spy Shark, very small set. The Shark Scout. Looks like you can order an AquaZone t-shirt. The Deep Sea Predator, slightly smaller version of that shark-themed sub that we saw on the last page. And the Neptune Discovery Lab. Okay, yeah, it looks like this is the kind of mainstay set of this theme. You've got the whole AquaZone headquarters here, Aquanauts headquarters, I should say. Different structures and vehicles and all kinds of cool stuff going on. And one of the main good guys is Aquanaut Jacques Clouseau. Very clever. And he's saying, anyone for a kelp burger. All right, then we have a page of Maniac favorites. And yeah, I think this is very accurate because I think I had almost all of these sets as a kid. You just find them everywhere in all the stores. And they were really cool, fun sets too. I really enjoyed these sets when I was a kid. You had the Rocket Racer from the Time Cruisers theme. Rally Racers, and the box basically was slanted so that you could put the base plate on it and use it as a little runway. You put the vehicles at the top and you could roll down and pick up some momentum. But that was a cool idea to incorporate the box itself into the set. Only a few Lego sets I feel like have done that, have incorporated the cardboard box into the set. I remember there was like a caveman set a few years ago that did that too. So here we have Magisto's Tower, and this was from the Castle series. We have Forbidden Island, which is part of the Pirate series. Pizza to Go. This is such a fun set. I'm sure this is just my nostalgia kicking in. Looking back, there weren't really that many features. There weren't really that many moving parts or anything. But I just really liked the kind of almost Mediterranean architecture style that they had here. I just remember something about this set was really fun to build. Here we have the Lego Maniac popping up to add in some funny little quip. And then we have here Gator Landing, which was part of the Town series. It looks like there's kind of like a rescue plane here, pontoon, get a little Jeep type vehicle. Looks like there's a guy with suitcases full of money, a crocodile who's maybe coming to scare this guy away, and then looks like a guy with sunglasses and a cowboy hat and a life jacket. He kind of makes me think maybe he's like a park ranger or a police officer or something. Yeah. These were good sets. And here we have the Duplo section. So kind of just some spare parts, odds and ends here. And we have a Duplo house set, Duplo kind of zoo. I guess they call it the animal park. And you can just get some minifigs, or I guess they're not minifigs, they're Duplo figures, and accessories from the Duplo series. Sort of ranch style set. They call it Fun at the Duplo Farm. I guess Duplo had their own holiday catalog, interestingly. And a Duplo train set, my first powered train set. cool. And then here we have the freestyle set. Freestyle sets here. An electric building kit. That was very neat. Building set. Build and store kit. And then they had the spare parts page. I always thought this was cool. Sometimes when I would get some, spare spending money, I would send in for, a bag of these spare parts from the Lego shop at home. And I thought it was so cool because I was buying my own Lego. I wasn't asking for it for birthday or Christmas or whatever. I could buy it myself because they were super affordable, just a few dollars. And get some Legos in the mail. I remember one time when I was a kid, I was maybe 11 years old or so, I put an envelope full of coins in the mail because, I had my, I can't remember what it was. I think it might have been for a brick separator. I think that's what it was. I needed a brick separator. And so I put an envelope full of quarters in the mail up to the amount of, $2.25 and sent it off to Lego, and they sent me the brick separator back. And then they also sent me a very nice note, very politely worded, saying, thank you for your order, but please in the future do not send envelopes full of quarters. We would hate for you to lose your money in the mail. Just a funny memory from the good old days. So I think it's funny that in these old catalogs they would put sets or items for sale, but they would print sold out across the top of it. They obviously they had to know that the set was sold out before they printed it, because they printed sold out right across the page here. So I think that was just their tactic to show that you better hurry up and order some of this stuff now, because we're already selling out. We've sold out before we even printed this catalog. I think there are some other sets in this catalog too that they put in there, and then they said, "Oop, nope, sold out. You can't have it." We're printing it in the catalog to let you know that we had it at one time, but no longer. I think it's a funny sales tactic. Here we go. So, they went to the trouble of putting this yellow paper insert into the middle of the catalog with only 3 things on it. But one of the things you can't order. They advertise it as a great value, only $3.75, but sold out. So don't order it. I think there was something on page 43 also in the pirate section. Here's another one. You have to look really closely here. But Pirate's Plunder set F here, number 6237. You'll see they just printed sold out over it. Here it is, but you can't have it. Anyway, going back to this spare parts page, I also wanted to note how different the brick separators were at that time. So not only were they gray as opposed to the orange, or I think even green that we have now, but you'll notice that the handle of the brick separators back then was this kind of fan-shaped handle that tapered as you got towards the head of the brick separator. Also, they have sort of a circular thumb depression at the head of the brick separator that you could use for, I guess, extra leverage. Nowadays, with the... actually, I think I have one here. Nowadays, with the orange brick separator, instead of a thumb depression here, you've got a little axle style pin, and those are handy, I guess, for pushing pins out of holes. And also, instead of the tapered style that you had in the 1990s here, the modern brick separator has this very sleek, straight handle. And also, you'll notice the modern brick separator has a much thinner, sharper back of the handle here that's really good for prying in between two plates, whereas the old 1990s style brick separator had a thicker, knobbier, looks like it's rounded end to the handle there. Not really good for much, I guess. But I guess in the 1990s they weren't thinking of having such a multi-use tool. The brick separator was really just good for that little piece there at the end, separating bricks. So, and the wheel wind motor. I feel like the pieces from the 1990s had so many cool, just fantastic functions. The holograms, the magnets, the decoders where you move the different colored translucent pieces over them and they reveal different images. This wind-up motor wheel where you pull it back and it creates tension, and then you let go and it zooms forward. I just remember being so impressed with the variety of functions and uses that these cool little specialized Lego pieces offered in the 90s. And that's probably just my nostalgia talking there. But the next part of the catalog we have here is the Peruse set. And of course, when you're a boy, a young kid, boys, of course, they tend to skip over this section because this is for girls. But there's really a lot of cool pieces here. Really rare pieces that you don't see these colors ever in other sets, in other series, other themes. But they produce specialized pieces in really cool colors for this Paradisa theme. So this is technically a sub-theme of the town theme, but in a lot of ways it's a forerunner of the modern Friends theme. I guess the big difference between this theme and the modern Friends theme is the minifig style. You have the same style of minifigs here in the Paradisa theme as you do in any other Lego theme, whereas in Friends, of course, you get a completely different mold for your figurines, more kind of stylized mold in the modern Friends theme. So obviously this theme was aimed at bringing in girls as customers, hence all the pink and pastel colored bricks. Some of the really rare colors that this theme offered were pink. You also had dark pink bricks, and also you had lime green color here. So you can see like this base plate, it's not really the same color as like the standard green here. You get this really neat sort of soft green color. In the ponies, I think Paradisa is the only theme or sub-theme that features these pony figures here. So you can see they're a little smaller than the typical horse figure. That's a very rare piece there. Kind of cool addition to the Lego universe. And the minifigs, you'll notice here, they incorporate a lot of female minifigs, and I think this is the theme that gave you eyelashes and lipstick. Previously, I believe any female characters just had the standard smiley face, 2 dots and a half circle for a smile. And they might give you some female hair or something to indicate that the minifig was a female. But this is the first one that includes kind of these red lips and these more pronounced eyelashes. Also the ponytails. I think the ponytail hairpiece was also introduced by this Paradisa theme. So you'll see there's no conflict in this theme at all. All these sets basically revolve around leisure, vacation, fun, kind of similar to all the themes that LEGO produces that are geared towards girls. I guess they figure that girls aren't interested in conflict or competition or battles, things like that. Anyhow, then we continue on to the race theme, which is another sub-theme of town. It officially started as its own sub-theme in 1991, although there were plenty of racing and race car related sets since as early as 1984, I believe. But 1991 is when it became its own kind of cordoned off sub-theme. Let you browse around here. Again, feel free to pause the video at any time to get a closer look at anything that catches your eye. Sorry, this catalog is a little difficult to hold on to. Like I said, it's very old, and so it's all the pages are kind of falling apart in my hand here. A well-worn, well-loved publication by me in my childhood. So. And then we have here the rescue theme, yet another sub-theme of town. This is all, police, firefighters, medical. So officially the rescues theme went from 1991 through 1996, but, of course there's lots of police, fire, medical sets that have been released up to the present day that continue to be released under the town theme. But from 91 to 96, these kind of rescue services had their own distinct sub-theme within town. Now everything's just kind of lumped into town. And so here's some more. Interestingly, so there's, kind of a fire station, ambulance and fire station. But interestingly, over here, they've got this aviation stuff lumped in with the rescue theme. And I never really understood that choice, why they chose to lump it in with rescue and not just with a regular town theme. There's nothing really in here that's, specifically or explicitly rescue themed about the airport or, this passenger plane. Which is so kind of tiny and steady compared to the plane sets of today. Another really tiny gas and go flyer. Eagle stunt flyer. They've got those lumped in with the rescue sub-theme. I thought that was interestingly. And then we have the launch command. Yet another sub-theme of town. I always thought it was kind of funny that launch command was a sub-theme of town rather than space, but I guess that makes sense. This is a very kind of real world, realistic representation of ground control and space shuttles and astronauts. It's supposed to be kind of set in the late 20th century. Supposed to look like real sort of NASA or maybe European Space Agency equipment and vehicles and people here. So I think Launch Command as a sub-theme ran from 1995 to 1997. It was succeeded by other kind of space and astronaut themes later on. I should specify space and astronaut themes that are sort of less fantastical than some of the more sci-fi space themes that LEGO produced. So Spaceport in 1999 was another one of these kind of more realistic, real-world space launch kind of themes. And then we have more Maniac favorites. So again, here you've got mostly kind of town themes here. You've got kind of like street maintenance, sanitation type sets. These are always fun if you're ever trying to build a Lego city. Add a touch of realism to your town. You know, you've got people doing construction, picking up the trash, sweeping the street. And then here's all the sets that are under $10. Well, not all of them, but all these sets were under $10. So this was always also really fun for me to look at as a kid, because some of these sets I could actually afford myself. I didn't have to ask mom and dad. I could, use my own handful of cash to order in one of these sets once in a while, and made me feel like a grown-up. I could actually afford my own Lego set with my own money. These were fun. And so here's that insert again, the one with the sold out Santa Claus figure. We're advertising him, we're giving him his own special insert, but you can't have him because he's already sold out. Keychains, t-shirt. And some more kind of accessory packages here. So these are decorated elements, kind of windshields and domes, hinges, transparents, kind of tools and implements and accessories, wheels. These are space accessories, other kind of utility, crane accessories, airplane accessories. Here they advertise all the different road base plates that they have. You can create a whole road network. Traffic signs, this was so cool. Trees and fences. Electric light kits, launch command accessories, all very cool. And then we come to, I think, my favorite theme of all the themes in the 1990s, and that was the castle theme. And so this was a set that I remember very fondly from my childhood. The Royal Knight's Castle. Of course, you can see they use these huge, bulky base plates. All that green that you see back behind there, that's all base plate. So you start off with this huge base plate, one piece, and half the set is already built. But I mean, they're pretty cool. So that there were these kind of studs placed randomly across the base plate so that you could connect the more detailed build on top of it. Then there was all that green plastic. It was just one big piece. And so here you have another little blurb. Meet the Royal King. This royal ruler enjoys wearing his shiny crown, bombing around in his carriage. So that's very British slang. Bombing around in his carriage means kind of racing around, kind of hurtling around in his carriage, and practicing his swordplay in the castle. The royal king can't wait 2 more years for the Winter Olympics, so he's throwing a castle-wide snowboarding party this winter. It's a good thing the royal knights wear armor because the first event will be a downhill slalom off the royal drawbridge. This is not a set. Oh, you mean I can't buy the medieval king snowboarding down the slope on a snowboard? Oh, shoot. So the castle theme. So castle was, I think, one of the 3 core themes that Lego originally released in 1978. The other core themes being town and space. And it was sort of a mashup of, more historically accurate medieval architecture, culture events with kind of fantasy, the kind of Tolkien, Lord of the Rings, sort of dragons and wizard type stuff. And it started with that classic yellow castle set that I'm sure you have all seen, the classic yellow Lego castle. And then they also released a Knights Tournament and Knights Procession set the year after they launched the castle theme, which gave you a little bit more detail and realism. Interestingly, when the castle theme first started out, the horses were all brick built. You had to put the horses together from a bunch of little bricks. And by now, 1996, of course, you've had these basically single piece horse figures here. I think the head and the neck could come off as a separate piece, and also there was this little divot in the back of each horse where you could put a 1x2 brick and a 1x2 plate to fill up the rest of the horse's body, or you could just put this saddle piece if you wanted a minifig to ride on the horse. But the castle theme was the theme that gave you pieces like halberds, swords, lances, these shields, these medieval helmets. And so in 1984 was when you had these factions that came into the castle theme. Different kind of teams with different interests who were conflicting and competing with each other. So you started off, I think, with the Crusaders and the Black Falcons in 1984. And then in 1987, you got the Forestmen, who were phased out in 1990, just 3 years later, but then they were reintroduced in 1996. You'll see the Forestmen are back here. They had been gone for 6 years at this point, and they were finally brought back. Dark Forest, yeah, that was the name of the sub-theme that they had. And I really liked these Forestmen themed sets. I thought they were cool. It was kind of a Robin Hood and his merry men sort of motif. Yeah. So then the Black Knights were another castle faction that came out in 1988. You had the Wolfpack faction, 1992. The Dragon Masters in 1993 was when castle really started to get kind of fantasy-oriented. So when Dragon Masters were introduced in 93, you got the dragons and the wizards. The Royal Knights, these guys were introduced in 1995, so this faction was 1 year old at the time that this catalog was printed. And then, of course, later, 1 year after this, you would have the Fright Knights, kind of a spooky Halloween-themed faction in the castle universe, 1997. So, unfortunately, castle as an overarching theme was completely discontinued in 2014. But I think the spirit of the castle theme continues on, at least partially, in other themes. like the Tolkien themes that Lego has done with The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, or the Harry Potter theme, Ninjago, yeah, even Nexo Knights. You get a lot of these pieces and themes kind of coming back, but there's never really been a castle proper theme since 2014. Yeah, it's sort of interesting, I guess, as a historian now, kind of looking at the way that they built this castle, it's sort of funny that I guess the tower in the back is supposed to sort of be like a keep. A keep, of course, in a castle is where you can kind of go and seek refuge if the walls are breached, but the keep is extremely wide open here. Maybe that's better for playability, but there's certainly no defense or protection benefit from this keep. You might actually be more secure in the gatehouse here. I always liked the portcullises that they included in the castle sets. I think this was back in the day. You might be able to see vaguely in the background that the portcullises of these early castle sets were actually pulled up by just a string. That was kind of neat. So that's the castle set. Here's some more castle sets. So here again we have this more fantasy-oriented stuff. You have Magisto, the wizard, up here. And you have a dragon. And here you have the dragon wagon, where they I guess they tried to take a dragon captive and kind of cart him around. I don't know if the dragon is going in there willingly, or it looks like maybe this soldier down here is whipping the dragon to get him to go into the cart. I guess you can whip a dragon and make him do whatever you want. They have a castle-themed accessories set. The royal drawbridge. The dragon defender, another wagon. King's carriage. I was a nut for the castle theme when I was a kid. I think I had just about all of these sets when I was a kid. Very fond memories. And then we have here the Pirates theme. Over to the right, I guess there's a few more castle sets here. On the left, the Dark Dragon's Den, Magisto's Magical Workshop, and Skeleton Surprise. These were all such fun, great sets. So anyway, continuing on to the Pirates theme, which was also a really cool, fun theme, that it seems like any Lego fan has nostalgia for the Pirates theme. It's a very enduring theme within the psyche of Lego fans in general. So this theme was first introduced in 1989, and I think it was the first new kind of overarching parent theme that Lego had introduced since they introduced the original three parent themes, Town, Castle, and Space, in 1978. So 1978, they introduced those major three themes, and then they went all the way until 1989, and then finally released a new parent theme, Pirates, here. So here we have the Armada flagship, Shipwreck Island. So we've got a pirate accessories theme, and another little Meet the Admiral blurb. I thought this was funny. Holidays in the islands are strange for the Admiral. Decorating palm trees and sledding down volcanoes aren't like the holidays he remembers. The Admiral once sailed to the South Pole to bring back some snow to show the islanders, but all the snow melted except for one snowball. And who can have a snowball fight with one snowball? So um, that's, I mean, from a historical standpoint, that's pretty funny. Um, you know, I think the first confirmed sighting of Antarctica by a European explorer was not until 1820, and this, I believe, is supposed to be more of an early modern theme. You know, these guys look like they could be, you know, right after Columbus in 1492, up maybe through the end of the 18th century, um, you know, end of the 1700s. So I don't think that they would have really known about the South Pole yet, or Antarctica. I guess, you know, they'd theorized Terra Australis Incognita, this kind of theoretical land that, you know, as far back as Aristotle, they had assumed would probably exist at the bottom of the Earth. But yeah, it's a little anachronistic, I guess. And why he went all the way to the South Pole to get some snow rather than to, you know, Europe or, you know, a mountain in Asia, I don't know. It's funny. It's supposed to be funny. Yeah, so here's some more pirate themed. Right, and then we have the Islanders theme. I always liked this as a kid. I thought this was cool, kind of a tropical sub-theme of the Pirates universe here. I guess today the Islander sub-theme makes me feel a little uncomfortable in retrospect, I suppose. It sort of mashes up a lot of elements of, you know, oceanic, Polynesian, Melanesian, Austronesian, indigenous South American cultures, just kind of mashes them all together. You know, takes elements out of a lot of these cultures and kind of takes them out of their context and commercializes them. You know, like the ceremonial face mask that King Kahuka always wears. You know, he wears it all the time. It's, you know, these kind of things when they exist in real life are usually ceremonial, you know, used during a ritual, but this is just kind of his everyday headgear. You know, even King Kahuka's name, I guess, sounds a little, I don't know, makes me feel uncomfortable. It's basically just kind of a nonsense word that sounds like something from an oceanic language. Yeah, I guess looking back in retrospect, the way that Lego did this theme was a little kind of essentializing and exoticizing, and you know, maybe not terribly respectful of these cultures, but you know, there were some cool sets and cool pieces. Whatever you think of this theme in retrospect, whether you think it was tastefully done or not, a lot of kids had fun playing with sets from this theme. And then next we have the Spirius. I think it's supposed to be Spirius. So it's a sub-theme of the space theme, and Spirius lasted from 1994 until 1996. It's basically about space spies, which makes me think that Spirius must be the correct pronunciation. If you look at the logo in the corner, you see it's kind of dark and you've got all these like eyeballs peeking out. from hiding, kind of representing spies. And the plot line of Spyrius basically centers around these guys who, this faction of the space universe, who are trying to steal technology from the other factions, and they steal the technology using their robots. If they're so proficient in making robots, I don't know why they have to steal other factions' technology, but that was the plot line that LEGO came up with. Again, these really cool base plates. This is the same exact mold from, I think it was a Magisto castle set. This base plate mold. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, so this base plate mold here that was used in the fire-breathing fortress. You'll see same exact shape over here, just used in space. They just painted it to have some craters on it, and yeah. Of course, you got the little minifigures. Again, kind of instilling that FOMO, the fear of missing out, in shoppers, especially the kids who are going to take this catalog to their mom and dad and say, "Quick, Mom, you got to get me 6939 and 6949. They're selling at warp speed." Inducing shoppers to buy, quick, we're selling out. Funny tactics that LEGO used in their catalogs. And on the next page, we have another space sub-theme. This time it's Unitron. Unitron went from, I think, 1994 through 1995, so a little less long-lived than Spyrius, which went from 94 to 96. But Unitron was, I feel like, a really cool sub-theme. They gave us the monorail transport base. What LEGO fan in the 1990s didn't salivate over the monorail transport base? Just so cool. And interestingly, Unitron is another one of those sub-themes that are not conflict-oriented. Again, these guys are basically just sort of exploration-oriented. I guess some of these little things that the guys are holding, you could imagine that they are guns or weapons, but maybe they're just scanners or tools. There's really no conflict in these Unitron sets. It's kind of about people in space doing science and exploration. Pretty cool theme with cool parts. And then we have the trains theme. These were really neat, but these were always the super expensive sets that I could never afford as a 10, 11-year-old kid, and I was never brave enough to beg my parents for one of these super expensive sets for birthday or Christmas, and they were just so huge and kind of intimidating looking. And I think most of my LEGO attention was taken up by my obsession with the castle and pirates themes anyhow. But I mean, this has also been another one of those super enduring themes that even if you never had a train set as a kid, they continue to evoke a lot of nostalgia among adult fans of LEGO. Just because, how cool they were, and even if you never collected the train sets yourself, every kid just enjoyed looking at the pictures of these and just thinking how cool it was that you could do this with LEGO, that you could make a functioning train set with LEGO bricks. So cool. Here's another page of train set, and train-related sets. I always really liked looking at the architecture on this train station set here when I was a kid. Just thinking about the way that they did the kind of sloped street. It slopes two ways out in front, and then the very kind of bulky, realistic looking station building. Not that super kind of airy, empty, glassy feeling that some of the other Lego buildings would have. I really like the more kind of substantial, closed off look that this particular building had. So then we have more kind of train accessories, railroad tracks, battery-powered motors, which, believe it or not, these pieces have been around in Lego since 1966. 1966 was when Lego started producing railroad tracks and battery-powered motors for Lego sets. That was a very kind of popular hobby. I guess even back in the 1960s was people making model train sets. It was a very cool toy. My great-grandfather actually was pretty well known back in the 60s through 80s for having his own model train set, basically a whole model train village that he had built up in a shed out back, where he had, little people and buildings and scenes and vignettes and landscape, and so he was pretty well known for his model train setup. Maybe that's where I inherited my love of, recreating kind of real life scenes in miniature, albeit through Lego. And then over here we have the boat or kind of nautical theme that Lego had. So here we have the sea cutter. And it's interesting, so the modern Lego catalogs, whenever you see a boat in the catalog, it always says, boat does not float. But here, they advertise that their boats actually float. Awesome new boats that really float. You can actually put it in a bathtub or, put it out on a lake or something and actually float it around and play with it in water. Right, and then we have the model team section. Awesome models for big-time builders. So this is kind of reminiscent of like the Speed Champions or the modern Technic vehicle models that you can get today. But the sets from this series, the model team series, I feel like they look a lot more sturdy than the kind of rounder, sleeker look of Speed Champions or current day Technic vehicles, which focus on hiding studs with curves and tiles and such. These are very more kind of proud of displaying their Lego studs. And I don't know if you've noticed, but the prices for a lot of the sets throughout this catalog going back and calculating price per part for, pretty much any of these sets, the price per part in the 90s was not great. At best, usually price per part, price per brick in the 1990s, you get like 11 cents per brick. But usually it's more than that, going up to 18, 19, 20 cents per brick. So, I went through my dark ages of ignoring Lego from like 2003, 2004, and came out of my dark ages around 2013, maybe. And when I got back into Lego, I thought, man, Lego has gotten so expensive. I felt like it was so much more expensive than I remember it. But comparing the price per part of Lego sets today to the price per part of Lego sets, in the 90s, I think the 90s were more expensive in terms of price per part, which is funny considering inflation. You would think that with inflation, the price per part of Lego sets today would be much more expensive than the price per part of Lego sets in the 90s, but that's really not the case. The price of Legos sets has pretty much held steady, maybe even decreased in the 20 years, since the end of the 1990s until now. Maybe with the exception of the model team, the price per part of the model team sets, you seem to have a much better bang for your buck with model team. And again, the emphasis here is more on display value than perhaps play value with these model sets. These are maybe more for teenagers or adults who want something cool to display on their shelf, but they're not looking for a lot of fun features that you actually play with. So, and then we come to the Technic theme, the Technic section of the catalog. Again, I feel like the Technic sets of the 90s look so much different than the Technic sets of today. The Technic sets in the 90s were not afraid to show their studs and their holes. You can see the short-lived Technic figures here. Bigger than the standard Lego system minifigs. I think there's some more of those Lego Technic figures all over this page here. Jointed arms, jointed legs, kind of longer torso. So here's the sets from the Technic section. Yeah, so believe it or not, Technic has been around since 1977. It started as the Expert Builder series, and then got the name Technic in 1984. But basically the concept has been around since 1977. So again, another really long-lived and enduring theme that a lot of Lego fans really love. And continue to love to this day. Looks like we've got another little bit of Technic Space Shuttle here. 20 inches long, electric 9-volt system, 14.5-inch wingspan, flash optic system lights. Got a helicopter. The Rebel Wrecker. The names of some of these are kind of funny. Hovercraft. And a little more Technic. Again, these old 90s Technic sets just look so skeletal to me today in comparison to the fleshier look of modern Technic sets. And then here we have the back cover. Looks like they've got another time cruiser set, the Mystic Mountain Time Lab. Start you off with time cruisers and end with time cruisers. Spin the hypno disc. People in the future sure are crazy. They're all standing on their heads. And the joke is because the monkey is looking at the kind of future telescope upside down. So the joke writers for the Lego catalog and magazine, they probably didn't come from, Saturday Night Live or anything so prestigious. They're funny enough to make a 10-year-old kid laugh. That's all that matters. Or maybe chuckle, or maybe at least smirk. I guess that's all that matters. Launch Bonehead into the future with the time catapult. I'm not sure about the physics on that one, but there you have it. Thank you for your order. More than 70 new items inside, including Wild West time cruisers and train sets. Please order early for best availability. Happy holidays. Yeah, there you have it. The 1996 Holiday Lego Shop at Home catalog. I hope you've enjoyed this trip through memory lane. And hopefully you saw some things that you were interested in, or things that you never knew before about Lego in the 1990s, or it allowed you to have a nostalgic moment. But if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more content like it, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment down below and let me know what the most interesting part of this catalog was for you.